Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our first YouTube live streamed event. We're absolutely thrilled to A, to have you join us, and B, to have our star of the moment. Listen, I'm going to do a spoiler alert. If you haven't watched the wonderful Series 2, Netflix, Blown Away, look away now, or turn away, or turn down the volume, because I'm going to introduce you shortly to Elliot Walker, who used to work in the studio and is the winner of that show. We are absolutely thrilled to have him here to do a Netflix Blown Away style challenge that has been set by our customers. We have with him his partner and assistant, Beth Wood, and from our own studio here, we've got Bruce Marks helping with colour, and we've got Tim Rawlinson, who is going to take over from me as the narrator. They are artists in their own right, and Tim will be talking about the work behind me, some of which is by Elliot, and some of which is by Bruce and Tim, and even some of my work. So we're going to, so what we did was we asked our customers to come up with some ideas for a challenge for Elliot. He just did this whole thing so incredibly during the course of the series that we thought, why don't we do it here? Let's try one. And we can now reveal, we have revealed, that the challenge, well, we got lots of things where lots of people replied where they were talking about the situation we found ourselves in over the last year or so with the pandemic. And what we tried to do was pull some of those together. We conflated some of those, and the title of the challenge is actually Collective Endeavour in the Face of Adversity. And that obviously refers to the NHS, the marvellous work that's been done there, the amazing work that's been done there, the incredible development and rollout of the vaccine, and the way the public has responded to this whole situation. I mean, you know, the last time we had to work in this way or work together in this way was during World War II, and the Brits are good at this kind of thing, and it's absolutely amazing that we find ourselves in the situation we do now with the, you know, hopefully we'll be out of this fairly soon. So look, I'm going to go over and talk to Elliot now and see what he's up to, and see what his, how he's going to resolve this challenge. Elliot, hi, how lovely to see you again.
You too.
Listen, I really loved you working here all that time, all these years, and it's great to see you back.
It's lovely to be back.
Thank you so much, and it's lovely to have Beth here too. Tell me what you have in mind for this.
Right. So
for this
obviously
chat.
there's an awful lot to fit into one piece. You know, I was really glad to get a challenge based on something so topical. And it's obviously such a huge event the past year that we've all been through together. So the idea of connecting, reconnecting is going to be a big part of this, a big part of the theme of this piece. And the idea of the threads that connect us together. Right. So the idea of threads is quite a strong theme in this piece. Obviously there's a lot of emotional content in what's happened. You know, there's a lot of emotional reaction to what we've all been through, and we're going to try and bring some of that in, using a bit of colour theory into the piece as we build it up. So I shall do a drawing.
Yes, please do.
Probably the best way to illustrate what we're doing.
Right.
So what we're going to try and do, and I say try because this will be the first time we've tried to do anything like this, is make a sort of like a bobbin. So it'll be like a big spool, like a spool of thread, and that'll be blown out of a tube. So once we've made this spool, we're going to ask different people. We've got a few people here today, which I'm really pleased about, and people I haven't seen for over a year now, and it's great to get some other people involved in this piece. So what we're going to do is have different people come and add their own individual thread to this bobbin, and we're going to build it up over and over again, using different colours which will sort of represent different stages of the pandemic and different emotional responses to the whole event. Yeah. Finally, the last part of the piece, again symbolising something quite topical, there will be a needle, hopefully, which will be able to push through, or look like it's pushing through this bobbin of thread, and that will symbolise the vaccine, the needle of the vaccine, which is hopefully bringing us through it all, bringing us to the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's the idea.
Wow, that sounds great. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, me too, yeah. Fingers crossed it all works out how we think.
So just for our viewers, I just wanted to make one announcement, and that was that if you scroll down through beyond the YouTube live stream, you'll come to a catalogue which will have work here by all of these people, including work of Elliot's. So I'd like you to take the time to do that, and please, if you can stick with us through the length of this epic piece, we'd love you to do that. If you feel like dipping in and out, do that too. And we will be recording also. So good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Let's make a start. Yeah.
Thanks so much for being here.
Pleasure.
So I'm going to hand over to Tim, my colleague Tim. We're all slightly distanced here. Hopefully just about 2 meters.
Just about.
Just about. And Tim's going to take over and describe the process as it evolves.
Well,
thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Peter. Oh, welcome to London Glassblowing. We're really excited to see how this transpires and how it eventually turns out. As far as I'm aware, with this construction, it's sort of there's 3 separate main components. You have the needle itself, the physical spool, and then the thread. So I believe the first element that will be gone with is the needle.
Yes, and that'll be in 2 halves.
And that'll be 2 sections, so you can have that element of it piercing the thread. So Elliot over here is at what's called the reheating chamber. It's got solid iron made out of metal.
Can you flash the jacks, please?
In the centre is our furnace. So inside of there is a crucible which contains the molten glass. So this is over 1,000 degrees centigrade. You see it's got a small gather of the clear glass there on the end of the iron. When the metal's hot, the glass will just stick to the end of the iron. You'll notice he'll always keep it moving back and forth, that way to keep the glass centered on the iron. It's molten, so if he's to stop turning, the glass will fall off center. He's using a pad of wet newspaper there to cool and shape the glass. It's just this morning's Metro, free from the tube. Best tool that you have. So he's getting another gather of glass down top. You can only gather a certain amount of glass out at one time. So everything's filled up in layers. So what's nice and often when working with the glass is you can essentially do something to each layer of glass. But this is going to be all in clear, this needle. How many gathers do you think you'll be taking on?
I'm just going to do these 2.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is the final component that will be added to the piece. And it's not going to be a large piece of glass, especially the needle. I want it to be sort of fairly thin. But when there's one on one side of the piece and one on the other, the whole thing is going to become quite wide. And we only have so much space in the reheating chamber. So yeah, making sure that I don't make this whole thing, this start too big and get too ambitious straight away. So we've got
That's
a long
often
way
the
to
way,
go.
isn't it, with glass making? You're bound with whatever you've started with size-wise.
Yeah, exactly.
So not to try and start too big.
Yeah, I'm quite conscious of that with this piece.
There's a certain level of physicality to glass making, isn't there? The fact that you're physically carrying the weight of the glass, but having to keep it turning in constant motion.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of it as an art form, you know, it's actually relatively quick. You know, with bronze casting or ceramics, there's an awful lot of stages that you have to go through before you even have the sort of semblance of a finished piece, whereas with glass it's really quite immediate. You know, you start off with a piece and within, well, we're being timed at 2 hours on this piece. Within 2 hours, hopefully, we'll have pretty much the finished sculpture, but that depends a lot on how well I do. How well we all do. I'm not taking the full blame if it goes wrong.
How did you find that time element of Blown Away? Was that very stressful?
It was. I mean, you know, there's a lot of skullduggery that goes on in making a TV show, and a lot of things are quite sort of staged, but with the nature of the process itself, you can't really stage glassblowing because, you know, once you miss a key moment, it'll take you the whole process to get back to that. So the guys with the cameras, the guys and the women with the cameras were running around desperately trying to capture those key moments, and if they missed them, they missed them, you know. And there was a lot of things which didn't quite make it into the final edit because they just simply weren't there, you know.
So if they hear some drama happening on the other side of the room, there's a quick scurry.
If they heard a smash, I've never seen people move so quickly with these enormous, bulky cameras, you know, really big pieces of kit hanging off their backs, you know. They would peg it. So yeah, that was all quite impressive.
So is this the end of the needle?
Yeah, I'm just starting off with this just to give myself a scale gauge, really.
So you see Elliot's constantly going to this reheating chamber. The glass cools very quickly, so you can only work on the glass when it's in the molten state. So you have to constantly keep going to these reheating chambers or glory holes to get the heat back into the glass to be able to sculpt it. The tools that you'll see Elliot working with, they're the same tools that's been used for hundreds of years. The process it's same is pretty much unchanged. It's more maybe the sort of contemporary use of it for an art form rather than something functional. But the current tool that Elliot has there are jacks.
Or Jills.
Or Jills, or Priscillas, depending on preference.
Okay, so if you want to glove up, and the first piece will go away.
So first component, 10 minutes in.
Not too bad.
Not too
Not
bad.
too shabby, can't mess around.
So that is an oxygen torch. So you can really get concentrated bit of heat where it's now putting in that score line. Basically that'll act as a stress point so that you can remove this piece of glass from the iron it's attached to. Without doing that, you could damage the piece of sculpture he's made. It could crack or fracture. So he's got a really nice precise score line in there so he can be able to knock it off from the iron. I should say that if anyone has any questions who's watching, please do type a question on the comment section and we'll do the best to answer them.
Okay.
So there's some props.
See Elliot is working with Beth.
Yeah, pointy end on the prop.
They're also partners together.
Partners in crime.
She's got a pair of gloves on to capture the piece. And we'll put it in a kiln to keep it warm whilst they're making the other components.
Huh? Look up. Okay, that was probably the easiest part.
Well, good to start.
Yeah.
Work your way in.
Start easy.
I mean, you can't have worked in this studio for a couple of, well, a good year.
It's definitely been a year, yeah, if not more. Yeah, it's it sort of comes back to you. I mean, a lot's changed here since I was last here as well. But yeah, you know, this is hot, that's hot. It's all fine. Fingers crossed. But I definitely haven't made anything here for a while, and we've never made this piece before. We haven't. Obviously, it's something, you know, that's been challenged to us, so it is going to be a bit of trial and error as we go along.
So you started at London Glassblowing in about 2013, I think?
Yeah, it was just after my degree.
And that was probably one of your sort of first major...
Yeah, definitely. It was such a big move. You know, I moved from the Midlands to come here.
To the big smoke.
To the big smoke, like Nicholas Nickleby or something like that. So, yeah, but it was great. You know, I mean, London Glassblowing is the one place where there is, you know, such a great team, such a large team of people all working under the same roof. And I learned, you know, an awful lot here, as you can imagine. Watching mostly. Watching's how you learn quite a lot.
Well, I've worked with you for quite a few years here.
Yeah.
And it's both sort of same sort of level of experience in terms of years at university.
Yeah.
I know we both felt this sort of creative hub of, you have Peter who founded it in 1976 through to artists like Lane Rowe and Louis Thompson who've got nearly 30 years experience each. And
yeah, what a great place
atmosphere,
to be. Exactly. Yeah. What a great place to be.
I don't think there's many places like that within the UK.
Definitely
sort of
not. You
hub of
know,
artists.
no, I think it's the only one, to be honest. Not trying to put anyone's nose out of joint, but okay.
So we have actually
Can you
opened
grab
up
me
again
the
now
flat
as a
squashes?
gallery. So
There.
if you want to see
Should be
any of
over
these
there.
artists, or Elliot's work, myself, Beth's, and of course Peter Layton, we're open on Thursdays, Fridays and Saturdays. Limited groups of people. We have a nice large space here, so it's fully safe. And we've also got, so this is the studio part of the gallery. You pan over there for a second, Anthony, you can see at the other end of the building, that is the gallery where we display the work. So we're all in one site. So if you're intrigued and you're able to get to London, you're very welcome to come and see us. We'd love to see you. So that's your final gather for this section, Elliot?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So you're predominantly a sort of hot sculptor of glass, you say. You make quite sort of literal objects that are representational either in concept or sort of ideology, but they're usually something that you can say...
Yeah, recognisable, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think it goes along with my sort of general outlook and my journey in the material. You know, I started off wanting to make sculpture, whether it was lost wax casting glass or kiln forming or something like that. But I very quickly sort of graduated into the hot glass studio just because of the immediacy of the material. I'm not a very patient person, as Bethany will tell you. And so this really, you know, it really suits me down to the ground, but it does take a long time to get where you want to be with it, you know, to learn how to make these forms. And I guess like any sort of artist, you know, at the minute, I'm trying to learn as much about the material as I can and work on as many different forms as I can and trying to make them right, trying to make them accurately.
Yes.
And then also starting to move into my own, you know, my own mind as well and bring some of it out.
Well, I certainly think that you have a definitive style that's been evolving and is becoming clearer more than your work. I've always likened sort of glass making a bit to almost like learning an instrument.
Yeah.
That it is the hours you put in, the level of practice to something that's very technique based, to be whether you can get a simple tune or more of a symphony today.
Yeah, you definitely have to start off with the basics with it.
I can certainly say from the years I've known you, you certainly put in the hours.
For me.
It's hard to keep you out of the bench most of the time.
Yeah, I don't think there's been more than a few weeks since I started that I've actually been away from the furnace. So, I mean, I'm very lucky in that regard. You know, a lot of people have to spend a lot of time, a lot of downtime in between making and sort of conceptualizing their work, whereas I've been able to do it hand in hand for many, many years now.
It's nice seeing, you know,
Okay, flash that for me.
We do have a question from Jonathan Ring, who's asked, how were you approached for the show, and have you kept in touch with anyone from the show?
So I've pretty much kept in touch with everyone from the show, which is really nice. You know, as a group, we all got on really well. And in terms of being approached, you don't actually get approached. I mean, everyone got an email saying, oh, we're recruiting for Blown Away Season 2. But you very much have to apply, you know. And I was very reluctant to apply at the start, but I did get badgered into it by a certain person or two.
Well, I think we're all very glad that you did take the
Yeah,
plunge.
I have as well, I'll tell you. Right, and again.
And I guess in terms of keeping in touch, are they mostly based in America? The other
Yeah, so
contestants?
everyone, I think Tegan, who was the Australian girl, so she's gone back to Australia during the lockdown and everything, but everyone else is still in the States. Yeah, they were all working in the States at the time. I think I was the only person who flew in from abroad. Now was working in Seattle, I think, and now she's moved to California. The only Canadian national was Brad, and he lived down the road, I think. So yeah, it was quite funny. I did feel a little bit like you know, like the odd one out in a lot of ways, because I didn't really know any of the contestants before they did their big reveal of everyone. I didn't know who anyone was, so that was quite interesting. What was that?
There was clearly, a large element of competitiveness, but were you a social group? Was there
Oh
time
yeah,
to
definitely. We were massively social. I mean, the competitive element was there because it sort of had to be. But I think everyone was of the same sort of mind that, we were all in it together. Everyone was learning from each other. Everyone was supporting each other as the thing went on. So it was very social, maybe a bit too social at times. I sort of said to them, like the production company, if they want to sort of foster that intense, intense...
The rivalry.
the rivalry. Don't let all the glassblowers go and hang out and have beers in the evening, because it just, it breaks down that wall very quickly.
Oh yeah, the social side of glassmaking is
Pretty big.
One of the nicest parts.
Right, I'm not really sure exactly what I'm doing with this at this point. Is there a tag
I guess
around?
the biggest difference for you in doing this challenge here is you're working with Beth, who's you make all your work with now, your main assistant.
Yes.
Whereas there you're given a student, I believe, is that right?
Yeah, I mean they were all pretty good, but it's nothing compared, obviously, to the person who you've worked with for how long now? 5 years?
6 maybe?
6 maybe, yeah. Who's counting?
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously it doesn't
if you
compare.
work with someone for that level of time, I actually know that the element of teamwork that goes with it is so vital to the work that you're doing, especially with your sort of work that will often involve many multiple heatings just to tweak very small elements of the work. And to know someone instinctively in that way,
Sorry, dude. Yeah, I mean, it might not come across massively clearly today because neither of us really know what we're doing for this piece. I'm trying to figure this needle head out at the minute, and it's not quite going how I thought, but we shall see. If I can thin this bit out a bit, it needs to be pretty much the same size, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
The same width, like. Can you get the tweezers?
What tweezers?
Those ones. And if you can slip them in the hole in a second, I'm going to hang it down. If you can pop them in the hole and just keep the keep that aperture open, because I'm worried it's going to collapse in on itself.
glassmaking, I must stress, is nearly always done with at least one other person, and sort of having that synergy between yourself and the assistant is vital and can take years to build up.
Okay, open them out a bit. Rub, rub.
There's very little that you'll do by yourself. You'll nearly always be working with somebody else. So that element of blown away, of being
Okay,
given
in again.
an assistant who you would have never met before, and trying to get maybe just simple verbal understanding. I remember you miming tools at one point through the through the show.
That's nice.
That's all right, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, miming the tools. Yeah. Well, I kept calling stuff things. I mean, how do I say that? I kept like naming objects like a board or a paddle or something like that, and people really didn't know what I was on about. You know, I think they've got like a whole other sort of lexicon out there, and they were just like, what's a board? What is a board? It's like, it's a paddle. What's a paddle?
They didn't understand Brumming.
Yeah, no, I don't think they did actually. Yeah, that's fair enough. A lot of people don't.
You can certainly see the top part of the needle now really taking shape. Nice oval form there.
Yeah, it's all right, you know, for a first go. I'm just going to try and thin this out a little bit.
Is this your first attempt at making a needle?
Yeah. Well, I've not had much cause to make one until now, so.
Got another question from Eddie Raff, who wondered if Elliot enjoys doing other artistic things, such as drawing or painting. I do know you're quite keen on music, playing guitar.
Yeah, I think, you know, you have to dedicate so much of your time and your energy and your creative energy to this process that, you know, I don't really have much left for anything else. I mean, drawing has become a means to an end. You know, I'll do a sketch of a piece and it'll be like the roughest sketch you've ever seen, just enough for me to understand the basic principles of what I'm doing. But then as soon
almost
as you've done
memory, you mean?
Yeah, pretty much. And as soon
capture
as
an idea.
As soon as you've done that, yeah, exactly, like a little reference. As soon as you've done that, you basically, you know, you have to go into the studio and see what the glass wants to do with your idea, you know, because a lot of times it won't want to do anything like what you think.
No, of course, it's so process driven.
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, mind your faces. Yeah, so we're just going to give this one more flash, cut it in a bit further.
There's a question from Lorraine Groves who's asking what will happen with this piece when it's finished. Perhaps auction to go for the NHS. Well, first thing I'd say is, as glass makers, you don't presume a piece is finished until it's away in the Lear and safe.
Yeah, don't jump the gun.
And then after that, I'm sure that people would like to talk to London Glassblowing about the piece, maybe donations that could be made also to the NHS. I think there's various funding pages for them at the moment that can be done as well.
Okay, ready?
So that's the second part of the needle head being put away. So like I said before, that's a kiln set to about 500 degrees centigrade. So inside of that, the glass will keep warm so that it'll be able to be used later. Any cooler than that and the glass might crack. Any hotter than that and the shape or form could distort. So that's the optimum temperature for the glass to rest at.
Okay. Right, so we're going to start the setup of the colour for the main piece.
So you're going to start with the spool?
Yeah, so now might be a good little segue. Can you get the black
To
out?
give you an idea of hot glass is very different from cold glass. The sort of luminosity is obviously
Just
not
let me
there
make
when
the
it's
colour
cold
first,
today.
yeah.
Colours will also appear very different. So Anthony, if you'd like to come over here, I can show you some of Elliot's finished pieces that we have in the gallery.
Now.
Yeah. Yeah, do you want to...
Anthony, do you want to come and see some of the finished work?
That's a good point.
So we've got an array of Elliot's pieces here. And some more figurative pieces at the top and the bottom, very large scale. why you need to have a very good assistant like Beth
in the
on
middle,
hand,
yeah.
to be able to do multiple heats, but also to handle that magnitude of glass. These figures have got layers of individual colour. It's very painstaking to put together and piece up, including this lovely sparkly dichroic. You see, this catches the light beautifully, almost like stardust. And with these are put together in a very sort of geometric way, but when the glass is hot and it's able to use a lot of force to distort and move these layers about, it brings wonderful movement and ripples throughout the colour. And then the final part is to hot sculpt these figurative forms. There are a little bit more sort of very descriptive pieces. You have his still life pieces below, which has got these cut and polished
So
fruit.
give it a little extra.
Take a piece of it there to show you.
Okay.
It's lovely
It's a little
cold
bit
work,
hotter.
opened up finish, which shows the folds of these individual cane work to create this orange.
I'll take it from
Are we
above.
dropping it?
Yeah,
So
I'll
there's a
probably take
whole
from above.
lot
You don't
of
need to get the
individual
whole
pieces
overlay,
that are then
but
assembled
just
together
get it.
in this still life form. Over here I'll show you Beth's work, that's assisting Bethany Wood, who's assisting Elliot today. And like I said, they've been working together about 5 years now. It's molten landscapes, sort of ideas of rock extract, because where you create glass colour is adding different metal oxides to clear glass, and that creates the colour. So it's a reference to that. But it's not a smooth texture, it's beautiful, undulated, sculpted,
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
molten texture, almost like a slab of paint been thrown across the piece. Beautiful pieces.
Great.
If you're interested in any of these works, they're available from London Glassblowing. Please email in or call. So we'll be open Thursday, Fridays and Saturday if you want to see them in person. And there's a whole different array of Elliot's work, like I said, from his more still life composition to these
No, not
more
really, yeah, we'll just
abstract
drop it on. I just
figurative
wanted a
shapes.
little extra.
If we go back into the hot shop now, Elliot's got blowing iron, and Beth is just heating up some colour. You've had half an hour, Elliot.
I know,
How does that feel?
scary.
So you've got a large section of concentrated colour on the end of the blowing iron.
Yeah, so this is black, opaque black.
Colours of the glass appear very different hot to when they're cold. So very often it's hard to know what the true thing will look like until it's cold. The black is probably one of the easier ones to see if it's...
Yeah, it's sort of orange still though.
So the orange colour is just the radiant heat that's given off by the glass. Like I say, you're working at temperatures of nearly 1,000 degrees. And the reheating chambers that you're seeing now, they're about 1,200 degrees centigrade. And they're all using gas. They're turned on each day, whereas the furnace, which contains the molten glass, is on 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. To turn on a furnace takes about a week's time, so that's why you can't just turn it off and on. And you have to be very careful about how you do that to protect the ceramic pot inside. So obviously it's a huge use of resources and expense, which is what makes glass making so costly. And not just the sheer time involved in building up these skill levels that, you know, Elliot has put in many hours to get to this level of sculpture ability. It's one of the more difficult ways of working with hot glass, trying to be literal with what you're doing, but also in this
Make sure it's clear.
hot sculpting method.
I didn't. Just check, blow through that iron, make sure it's clear.
So we'll get some
That's
heat
the one
into
for the,
this
colour.
quite dense bit of colour, and then try and move it back, create a more round shape before it gets some air into it and blow. There are various stages of glass making, sort of prep stages. You can't skip any of these stages or rush the glass, even if you've got a 2-hour time limit.
Yeah, I'm trying to rush it a little bit.
What was the most stressful of the challenges time-wise? There one that really, I know you had one that, did it fall on the floor halfway through?
Yeah. So the beetle piece I think
The
a lot
dung
of
beetle.
people who've seen it will remember. That was probably the most stressful in terms of time, because, you know, when I was designing the work, I very much had the time in mind, but because of my sort of predilections, I made sure that if I got almost everything right, then I would fit the time. You know, there were very few pieces where, you know, I had like, you know, an hour to spare if something went wrong. So that one was really quite stressful. If the body of the beetle itself hadn't have survived the fall, I mean, the legs flew off, but the body was reusable. If that hadn't have happened, I don't know what, I would have had to cut an awful lot of corners to get back on track with that.
I was so gutted for you in that moment, Elliot, man. I was
Yeah, it's always the way. I mean,
shouting at the TV. I couldn't believe it.
It might happen today, you never know. It's always that last few seconds, isn't it, when it all goes horribly wrong.
A few more questions from our viewers. Someone called Dickie Whittaker is wondering whether you had completed your prize residency yet, which I believe you won as winning one of the episodes on Blown Away. It's in Pittsburgh, isn't it?
There was, yeah, the first prize was the residency in Corning, and then on one of the other episodes, I think the Beetle one itself, the prize was a residency in Pittsburgh Glass Center as well.
So to give people an idea of the time scale, when Elliot was filming Blown Away, it was literally as the pandemic was taking off. I think you got one of the last flights back into the country.
I did, from Canada, yeah. It was a few days after they closed the Canadian border. So I was very lucky to get back in. I mean, we were so like cosseted while we were over there. We were in our own sort of little world, really, that I didn't fully understand what was happening until I got back. And then the lockdowns hit. We went to the supermarket and there was nothing in there. And it was all a little bit like, oh, right. Okay.
I can't imagine the sort of headspace of, you've got the bizarre experience of going through a show like that.
Yeah.
The time away, the intensity, and then the emotion of winning it, to come home, and then suddenly there's a pandemic and we're in lockdown, and it's not normal life anyway from what you've gone through.
No, and then to have to keep the whole thing quiet for like the whole year.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it was very strange, very strange.
So in reference to the question about the residencies, obviously you've not been able to go back over yet with the current climate.
No, so we're planning those for spring next year.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm gonna, me and Beth are going over, and we're gonna try and do both in the same trip, really. And I think there'll be about 2 weeks, something like that each. Yeah, so we'll be there for a month at least, making and working.
Are you going to try and tackle a sort of specific project in that time?
I haven't decided yet, to be honest. I really haven't decided. That's something for closer to the time.
Well, we all look forward to seeing what transpires.
Yeah.
So you can see each gather of glass is getting larger, more movement, more heat. Again, just using that pad of wet newspaper to cool and shape the glass. What's great about that is it's the most effective thing to using your hands on the glass, or the closest thing possible to it. So the shape of Elliot's hand underneath the pad of paper is informing upon the molten glass to give it its shape. So you can use things like wooden blocks, which will give you a very sort of primitive round shape, which I don't think Elliot's a fan of. But the paper then allows you to make a whole myriad of different forms.
I sort of think about blocks. You block it, you block it, you block it, then you paper it anyway. So I don't quite see the point of them.
Just like to say that the filming of today is being done by Anthony Scala, who's a long-time London Glassblowing resident artist. I believe he first came to the gallery when he was just a child and bitten by the bug, and has forever stayed with him. And he's working with his father, Dante, a professional filmmaker, and we're very thankful for the two of them today and their efforts they're putting in. Anthony's work
weird,
is
isn't it?
all about precision, be very sort of cut and laminated optical glass. The mathematics of each individual component has to be completely spot on, otherwise the final piece will not end up together. If you'd like to see more of Anthony's work, it's all on the London Glassblowing website, along with all the other resident artists.
Stop.
I believe recently he was in a big show in America for Imagine Museum, which was focusing on optical glass.
Gently.
And the optical qualities of his work are outstanding. It's all to do with the highly polished surfaces to create sort of kaleidoscopic effects within the glass when you look into them.
Stop.
So you can see there Beth is doing what we call a bench blow, which she's blowing down the end of the pipe while Elliot is papering the glass. It enables him to do a much more controlled way of blowing up the glass. The paper is cooling different elements of the glass. So obviously when you blow, part of the glass which is the hottest will expand most readily. So by using the paper and blowing at the same time, you've got a lot more control of which parts of the glass you're blowing up.
And 2 gathers. 2 strips. No, but yeah, bring me the bucket. Yeah.
Anthony, can I show you some of the other pieces over here of Elliot's? We've got these lovely new sushi pieces which he's been working on, which, just to give you an idea of scale, here's my hand. Just pick one up actually. So it's got the effects of real sushi. So it's like individual grains of rice. It's all glass, prawn tail coming out. Maybe that's a stick of avocado,
Don't make it too big.
Cucumber, and then the seaweed wrap around.
And then if you can chill the iron
here
as well.
obviously is the group. Really, really beautiful pieces. And I like the element of humour within them as well. The really fascinating. The row balls. It's a really lovely way of utilising the material to create something completely different. Wonderful. Below Elliot's work is boxes here by one of our resident artists, Louis Thompson. Beautiful set, newly created forms. They're actually solid pieces, but gives the illusion, the element of they're filled with some mystical liquid. There's beautiful intrusions set within the piece. Louis is one of the most experienced glassmakers we have here at London Glassblowing. Our gaffer.
Did you get a cloth?
Time at the RCA he did about nearly 10 years ago now, and has been constantly developing this idea of, I think it's encapsulating the DNA.
That's great.
There's various different aspects to those. At the very top we've got work by Bruce Marks, who's going to be helping Elliot in this demo coming up. His element's coming up. His birds, sculpted forms. So these are blown forms. And then they're acid etched to give this beautiful matte texture. They're very large scale pieces. That beautiful orange beak glowing inside. I always think of penguins when I see them, as sort of proud emperor penguins with the chest puffed out. And this lovely sort of pair of maybe male and female together, sort of idea of partnerships. So that's Bruce's work. Go back into, we'll come back to the work, have a look at some more, see how it's taking shape. So this cylindrical form will be the spool.
Yes. So, quite a weird form, which again, something quite novel for us really. So the idea is to stretch this. We're going to put another layer on. It needs to be quite thick glass. Stretch it out into a cylinder and then flip one end up, which will create the flat end of the spool. And then we're going to try and attach that to another iron and flip the other side up at the same width.
Nice.
You know, precision.
Of course.
Precision. We'll see. But like most things in glass, you only get one go at that. So So if we mess it up, there's not really any rectifying it at that point, so we'll have to live with whatever we end up with, but I'll try my best.
In terms of precision and the sort of way that you work, I guess you've done a lot of work in terms of creating things like tableware and more finer sort of Venetian goblet making, things like that.
Yeah.
That really requires a high level of precision and technique, so that must inform upon this kind of process.
It does to a certain extent, but especially with the goblet work, we just made this installation of a load of crushed goblets that are pinned up to the wall, so about 25 of them.
Ah, yes.
And that took us months. You know, we basically had to learn from scratch how to do these things and then deform them in a way that looks natural, because they look like they've been slumped in a kiln, but obviously that's not the way they're done on the iron. So that was like a good 2 months of stress and arguments and stuff.
So that was part of an installation in Messam?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it looks wonderful.
Thank you.
That's been one of the many factors of this current pandemic, not being able to go and actually see these pieces. And I know that particular show, the images I saw were really interesting. So you can see the viscosity of the glass and how when it's hot, literally will drip off the iron like honey. So Elliot was pouring that away intentionally, so he could have the exact amount of glass that he wanted, sort of strip gather. And now they're just cooling off the iron with water,
Cool.
so he can get his hands closer to the glass. This makes handling the weight simpler. To imagine weight of glass on the end of an iron, the further away it is, the heavier it will feel. So it will feel about 3 times heavier than it actually is. Plus, it's moving about, and he has to keep it in constant motion. We have a question from Otis, who's 13.
Oh.
Otis asks, which pieces of your work are the hardest to make?
All of them, Otis. It depends, really. Oh. Yeah, just about. So, obviously the single, especially the figure pieces and these, this other series I've been working on at the minute, if it's one piece of glass that's quite large scale, there's a different sort of difficulty in that than there is in lots of different pieces that fit together into a composition, so I try and do both. Sometimes you get a little bit tired of lugging a huge bit of glass around, and the opportunity with the still life is to make a larger piece out of many different components. So I quite like both, you know. So what really just depends. Yeah, can you shift those? Thank you.
Well, it sounds like that last installation of goblets nailed to the wall, probably.
Yeah, that was
more complex pieces.
Okay, I'll have a little blow, please.
So Elliot was just using a metal table called a marver there to cool and shape the end of the glass.
Okay, blow.
I said this bench blow means that it keeps part of the glass cool, so the hottest part will blow up when Beth's blowing down the iron. And you can really see that inflating now. Can there be a fairly substantial sized piece?
Okay, can we have a door, please? Yeah. Just one. And you can close me in. Close me in. Yeah.
I have a question from Simon Finch referring to time. So I should tell you you've had 45 minutes, so that's an hour 15 remaining. He asked how you remain so calm under pressure.
Okay, turn. Turn.
This is one of the most tricky bits when the glass is, you can see how it's moving about, how hot it is. He remains calm under pressure by not answering irritating questions from me. Not yourself, Simon.
Okay, hang it down.
You know the time. So he's just getting a jack line into the piece there. As I said before, it's a stretch line in the glass, which means you'll be able to knock the piece off from the iron without damaging it.
Oops, sorry.
So you have to get a really large amount of heat in there.
It's
a bit much for what you turn by yourself, so you have the help of Beth to turn the iron while Elliot applies pressure with the jacks.
Okay, door again.
So you just getting a jack line into the piece there. As I said before, it's a stretch line in the glass, which means you'll be able to knock the piece off from the iron without damaging it. So you have to get a really large amount of heat in there.
Okay, door again.
Pressure with the jacks.
Okay, and I'll have the other one open, so leave that one open. And then just flip the other one in a second. Oh yeah. And leave it open. Yep, open. Okay, move that one out of the way. That's it. Does it go any further out of the way?
So there's a lot of movement within the glass. So that scale
Ready to blow?
is much more hard to handle. It's where it's great having an expert assistant on the end of the iron to help you out.
Okay, gently.
We're just hanging the iron down there using gravity to stretch the form out to create this far larger, longer form. She's now getting into this cylindrical basis. So the longer the piece of the glass, once you get that hot, it becomes even more harder to control. More it's to do with technique rather than physical strength.
Okay, watch on the paper.
So our studio manager Bruce Marks has come in to help now the piece is getting to a certain scale. We'll be opening up the doors of the glory hole. So it's got front doors and back doors, depending on how large the piece ends up getting.
Help me turn. Back.
So it's getting really quite a long piece now.
Back.
Probably nearly about 50 centimetres in length.
Back.
And just using that wet pad of newspaper to try and straighten up the outside form.
Back. It's looking good. Back.
So we have these special glasses for working the glass that shields you from the heat.
Oh, sorry, dude.
Can also help with the smoke. I find my eyes get quite dry just from the heat that's given off by the glass.
So we'll probably have a sticky
staring into very bright reheating chambers and also using torches to have a very bright light, so it just protects your eyes. In terms of the blowing aspect, it's probably one of the more tricky and technical parts of the piece. Creating this very long form, trying to keep that straight becomes rather tricky.
Straight-ish.
Also, working with colour makes the glass a lot trickier to handle. So you've got this very soft black colour, so it will move about a lot more readily than if the glass was just clear.
Back. Okay.
Calipers, precision.
Precision. Okay, we'll have a sticky punty, please.
I must say, the first piece you made on this show, the scale of that really took me aback.
Yeah.
Did that take you? Did you mean to make it quite so large, or was
it was
a case of components stacking up?
It was components, you know, and with the spine, I just had to do it until it was done. Yeah. You know, I think I missed the 38 vertebra or however many we have by a long shot, but yeah, I just had to wait until it looked right, you know.
I thought that was a very ambitious first piece to undertake in the show.
Yeah, I mean, I calmed down a little bit after that one. Just got a better idea of my time, really.
Of course. Well, it was a signal of intent. So Beth's got a little bit of clear glass, stick on the end, pulling out now as part of the glass. Will this be opened up the end of this piece?
Yeah, what's the idea?
So it's just a nice technique there of using a bit of clear glass, just a bit of glue to stick on the end to pull out the form. So you can get it thin enough to start to open that up to create an opening at the end of the cylinder.
Nice, yeah.
Now he's got the general form, he doesn't have to get the whole piece hot and floppy and moving. He can isolate the heat.
Can I have a little blow?
So you can see how the end is much hotter than the rest of the piece, glowing orange.
Gently. Stop. Blow.
So just using a wooden board to shield Elliot's hands from the latent heat given off from the glass. You do gain asbestos fingers, but still. You're talking about nearly 800 degrees given off by the glass.
Okay. I'll have a look at it from the other side. So if you can turn it.
It's exposed a very small hole. You can start to use the tools to really open that aperture much wider. Are you going to flip it over, Elliot?
Yeah.
So the idea, if you look at the drawing down here,
okay, turn.
is to do this part here. So he's open the cylinder and begin to flip it over.
Back. It's okay. Faster. Back. Stop. Thank you, dude. Okay, I'll have water on the paper.
So it shows now experience of working together.
Water on the paper.
But having one person turn the iron while you then are out of the bench using your tools on the piece. And you really do need a unique understanding with each other to work on glass this way. I was saying that he's getting one element of the glass much hotter than the rest because he wants that to be hot enough to distort the form and sculpt it how he wants. The rest keeping cooler because he doesn't really want that shape to change. However,
okay,
if he lets it cool too much, it would actually crack or even explode.
Lift it up, okay? So open them out and lift it up.
So it's a very fine line
okay.
if you're walking, keeping with each heat going through the glory hole, making sure that it's not so hot that you distort the shape, or not so cold that it could actually crack or break.
So come off when I say off, okay? And then I'll change direction, then go on again, okay? We're trying to seal that flipped lip, okay? Okay, in, off, in. Get them in a bit deeper. Off, in. How are we looking?
Good.
Okay, off. Forward. Yeah. Keep. Cool. Woo!
Can you grab
sealed. That's hot. That is. That's really hot. Okay, wax the jacks. Water on the paper.
Some more forward.
Whew. Yeah. Okie dokie. All right, let's go.
So we've now exposed the opening of the end of the cylinder, which is now nice and round. Would the next stage to be to flip, or?
Yeah, I need to. Can I have the bigger jacks hot and ready to go?
Timing is so crucial with glass. So you can see it becoming much more sharp with what we're doing. So he's using the arc torch. isolate the heat in a specific part of the cylinder, which you'll try and flip over.
I'm going to jack it in a bit.
Who, me?
No, I'm going to jack it in a bit. Help me, yeah.
And so it's made trickier with familiarity is great with glass making. So obviously the people you work with,
So I don't want the collar to have to be too big, you know.
Because Elliot's not worked here for at least a year. I don't think I've worked with Elliot for a couple of years now. So using paper, pinching in that part to heat it up, to then start to flip over the end. They say preparation is key to creating a form like this. You can't jump the stage, you can't just leap automatically to the final point. It'll be about knowing the build-up to get it to a certain point in which you can then make that form. So this crease that you see here through the glass is where it will eventually be folded back and over.
I haven't got time, really. I haven't really got time. I'll give it a good blast with the torch in a minute.
Pinching in that point of the cylinder with the jacks, straightening up the main form now, and constantly back and forth with the heating. So it becomes very rhythmic. What breaks out is dance moves. Coming
Yeah,
back
a little
and
bit.
forth.
Can you get the wet paddle out and put it on the bench? Sitting there. The other door, Bruce.
So using the heat of the chamber, centrifugal force, as Elliot spins the glass faster, you see how it flares out at the end. You use that board to really flatten that final form off. Lovely.
Right, can you gauge the size of this at the bottom? No, yeah. By eye, you'll be all right. I mean,
It's yay big.
no, I mean the hole. So it's the hole we're looking at?
Half a Snickers.
No, the hole. So I'll need a collar that'll fit that hole.
Classic mug circumference.
Not too bad, is it? Okay, so it's got to fit that. So maybe, yeah, a nice big gather, let it settle. Pop it out.
So in order to work on the other end of the glass,
So it's over there. Iron, yeah?
you'll have to attach an iron
You all right?
to this end here. So they're just making sure they've got the exact size right of the hole in order to attach that other iron.
Yeah. Yeah, go
So
for
now
it.
see the width has increased. You have to open up another door of the reheating chamber.
It's increased a bit more than I was hoping.
Well, it's looking good so far.
No, one will be all right. Just make it a decent one.
Are you doing the punchy next? So Beth's
Go for
starting
it.
to get together what we would call a punchy, which will be the iron is going to be connected to the end of this form. Obviously, as it's got an opening as its central base, you have to make a slightly different style of punching. That's where when you're sculpting in these forms, you have to be quite creative with how you go about things that might be quite simple otherwise. So Bethany is making a blown puntee. So it means the iron that will be transferred upon will be able to blow down.
Okay, flash that. Careful.
When you're joining two pieces of glass together, you've got to be really precise with the heat. If it's too cold, they won't join properly.
Just stay up there, Beth. Stay
and one
up there.
could fall off the iron. If they're too hot, you might not be able to control the piece once it's transferred onto the other iron. So you have to be spot on with your temperatures.
Okay, flash again.
So Beth is currently flashing the piece at the moment. It's getting a little bit of heat into it. Not so much that it would change the shape, but enough that it wouldn't crack with a storm or break. While Elliot puts the final touches
Okay, back to the bench.
on the blown puntee.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, flash that. Oh my God, all right.
So,
Can you turn this, Stop.
Dramatic.
No, it's not big enough. Take it into the other one and spin it out. Sorry.
so the blown puntee is not quite large enough in circumference. So we're going to put a bit more heat into it. I'll spin that out to make it large enough to cover the hole.
Yeah.
This element of glassmaking, particularly when you're learning, is
Okay.
one of the more dramatic and stressful.
Flip. So that looks connected.
Nice aim.
Not too bad.
So that has covered the exposed hole.
Pull backwards slightly. Pull. Stop.
So once the temperatures are correct, Elliot will be able to apply a few drops of water to the stress fracture, which is now currently heating. Hit the iron, and the vibration should knock the piece of glass off his end and onto hers.
Right. Off you go, Bruce.
Fingers crossed.
Off you go. It's all right. Yeah.
So that's just bits of water.
Flip. Ready? Try again.
And there you go.
Bloody hell, thank God for that. Okay, it's all right, just, yeah. Okie dokie.
So
Ooh, that was
very
a bit
often
scary,
the most
wasn't it?
stressful part of making this to whether the piece stays on the iron or ends up on the floor. That was done very smoothly.
Almost very smoothly, I'd say.
That's the benefit of working with someone for so many years, really pays off. You're being in tune with each other. It really is a team sport. So the reason for doing this is to be able to work upon the other end of the glass. The form of this end of the spool is finished. We attach the iron to this end to expose the other so we can work upon the other half to mirror this circular end. I imagine they'll be exactly the same size.
Exactly, yeah, without a doubt. Okay. Yeah. Actually, no, the big ones will be good. Yeah, I need to do the jacket again.
So you have to spend various time getting heat back into the other end of the piece, which he was keeping cool, so we can then start to sculpt and change that shape. It'll be quite untidy where he's knocked it off, so he'll have to spend some time neatening up the hole before he will create the form. got a few more of your questions that have come in.
Okay, open. Yep.
There's one question asking about your degree in psychology, Elliot. And
Yep.
asking how that has influenced your work, or if it has influenced your work.
I don't think it. I mean, obviously, doing something like that for so many years, it like colours the way you think about things. But I wouldn't say it's directly influenced anything just yet. You know, I'm still waiting for that to happen fully. It's been so long since I was studying it, I've lost quite a lot of my knowledge now.
But I've noticed some of your titles, like psychophysiology.
Oh yeah, so those pieces were, yeah. I'm not going to go into that just at this second. Okay. Yep. Yep, close. Right, so I'm gonna jack this in, then we're gonna whack it over. Whack it over. I'm not gonna trim it or anything. So we ain't got enough time, and then we'll start doing the colour. And Tim, I'm gonna have to get you on doors when Bruce is heating the colour. If that's all right.
I was just asked to narrate about forming part of your hot shot team.
It's fine, that's perfect.
So creating that other groove for what will be that sort of plate type form at the end of the spool.
Ooh. Cool.
So the latter part
Yep.
of the show, you're working with a team like you are now, but weren't they the team from Corning Museum of Glass?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
How was that working with such experience?
That was a real treat, you know. It was a real treat. But sort of like being here, you know, it felt quite familiar. Oh, communication there. All right, so this will be the last cutting, and I'm going to flip that over. So if we can have the dry board, the wet board out again, please.
You've got 50 minutes remaining.
Oh
Elliot.
God, don't. So as soon as I flip this, if we can get on the doors, and then Bruce can start heating up the first colour.
So obviously the next component or part of this three-phase piece, we've done the needle, this is the core, the spool, you need the thread to be wrapped around. So Bruce will start heating up bits of colour that we thread around this form.
Push harder.
Lovely. So you can see how that end's glowing orange. How it's far hotter than the black end that's part of it.
Oh, it's nearly
this is
right.
all the same
It's
colour.
a big wrap.
It's just the difference in heat that is the difference in colour.
Okay. No, you're doing the wrap, Bruce is getting the colour. So the grey first, please.
Do you need a back door, Elliot?
I will do, yeah. Beth, can you take 2 gathers for this wrap? Thank you.
So the puntee is obviously kept cooler than the rest of the piece.
Okay, open.
So it doesn't move about. However, if it gets too cool, obviously it can crack.
Gather again.
So Beth has just gathered up some clear glass.
Again, yeah.
To do a wrap around the puntee. So you're using the heat of fresh glass to put heat into that puntee iron so it won't crack.
Cool. Yep. Lovely. All right, so
So, Elliot, I believe the next part is applying the threads around the spool.
Yes.
So that seems like quite a key part of the concept of this whole piece.
It definitely is a key part of the concept. So we're using a bit of colour theory and trying to like use different colours to emulate different emotions. So the first colour that's going to go on is probably the dullest colour I could find. It's like a sort of grey-brown.
Is that a dull colour?
It is very dull. It's like, it's a dirty grey-brown. It's not very nice at all.
A bit like my shirt?
Well, no, it's a bit worse than that, yeah. But this colour's supposed to represent like the first feelings that I had, especially with the lockdown. This feeling of like, just confusion and bafflement. And then like boredom, because all of a sudden you weren't, allowed to do anything or go anywhere. So that first colour, which will go on straight away, that's sort of representing the start, the first feeling of the lockdown. For me, anyway.
I think that will be represented by lots of people.
I'm sure. Okay, Beth, can you wheel that round in front of that kiln? Yep. Yeah, the torch, yeah.
So you didn't devise some new skill, some talent, learn a language?
No, not really, no. Do you know what? It's okay. It's all right. I think we'll be all right for a little bit. Okay, go now then. Yeah, if you just put it over there. Yeah, okay. Okay, and I want you to open the gas up. And then you're going to torch the punty open.
So Beth's currently setting up another torch.
That's it.
So that she can get some direct heat into the punty.
No, keep
it's
going.
A very loud torch, so forgive us if you're not able to hear us much in this part.
Very good. Okay, so even that heat right out. Open.
So Bruce has been heating the colour, and he's now just put some clear glass on top of it, so that it can enable it to thread around the centre of this spool.
Yeah,
so this will be the first of many threads
now,
applied.
So, yeah, hang that up.
As Elliot said, he'll be using different colours to represent different emotions and feelings that people have gone through
flashing
in the pandemic.
Yep. All right, let's have a look. That's great. Thank you.
So Beth is now taking
Don't let it get too
control
out
of the main form.
So if you just settle yourself in.
Got the hot piece of colour, of which when the temperatures are just right, you'll be able to thread it around.
Hopefully.
When the glass is hot, it will stick to each other. So the end of the glass of the colour will stick to this centre cylindrical form.
Can you take one more little flash,
And because
please?
you're spinning the glass on these bearings, it will be wrapped around the centre of it. And I imagine as this builds up in layers.
Okay.
It will become
if you
more
can get
and
the
more
next colour, Bruce.
confusing, much like the
So we'll go for the
itself.
grey again, I think. Yeah. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, you ready? You gotta really go for it. Okay.
So here you can see spinning around the piece. Lovely. Almost like a sweetie.
Almost like a sweetie. All right, we're gonna need maybe 2 gathers on the next colour. Yeah, I think so.
So Elliot, are you wanting some involvement from some participants?
Nice one, girlie. I'll take it. Right. So now I know that the piece works in theory. We're going to start inviting other people in to apply these different layers of colour. Okay? Yep. Can you pass me the big torch, please? Whoa, the little one. Okay. So obviously our volunteers got to have fairly good aim to get this thread in the centre.
So I think Jack is our first participant.
All right, cool. Can you set this up a little further over? So, yeah. So if Jack's going to stand here, and we've got spaced out here a 2 metre distance. Oh. It's quite hard to describe the piece while I'm in the middle of doing it. Lovely. Okay.
So much in the same way of the first thread,
Torch.
the second one will be applied. Is it a different colour?
Alright, so you're on the iron again.
So getting other people to...
Am I turning it?
You're turning it, but I've got to take that. So if you get this open. Okay, just hang out there for a sec. Shut the door. Let's have a look. Lovely.
So I think the involvement of participants is also meant to resemble how society has come together.
So you're going to rest it on
pandemic,
there. I'll help you stick it on.
Out,
and we're just going to go back and forth.
Key workers
back and forth.
Particularly, and how that they have really stepped up in this.
Okay, flash please.
Quite scary time. We said at the outset, particularly the work of the NHS.
All right, Beth. Yep. It's just a flash. Yes, please. Okie dokie. All right, so just settle yourself in.
So get ready, Jack. Have you ever handled glass before? No. First time. Great.
Okay, I'll stick it on for you.
Right.
Other way, Beth. Okay, right.
That's it.
Okay. So we'll let it settle down a bit. Okay, now it's over to you. Okay.
Right.
So you got to turn it over this way a little bit, and then back the other way. Spool the thread. Spool the thread. And back the other way. It's looking brilliant. Keep going. Keep going.
Beautiful. Well done,
Yes,
Jack.
very nice.
Have you thought of a change
pull
in
back
career,
a bit.
Jack?
Pull back a bit. Back. There we go. Excellent. Okay, into the flash. That's perfect. Thank you.
Jack is the better half of our lovely gallery assistant Becky, who many of you have probably met.
Torch. Now use your other hand so you can aim better. Very good. Okay, so the next colour that we're using, open. Yeah, the blue. So, yeah. It's blue! Blue is the next colour! So obviously we're having quite a lot of fun with this. You know, there's a lot of audacity going on and it's great to be back around everyone. But the colour blue, traditionally, you know, it's the colour of sadness, isn't it? And so this layer of the piece represents all the loss and the struggle that we've all gone through. So I'm trying to punctuate positives with negatives and vice versa, because the whole pandemic has been full of both, really, in equal measures, maybe some more than others. Depends who you are as well. I mean, we've been very lucky, Beth and I, being able to work together and living together. We've managed to keep our lives together quite a lot, but so many people have struggled in so many different ways. So this layer of blue is sort of representing that. Torch, please.
Nicely said.
No, there's like 2 hours or an hour or 3 hours or something.
So you've had nearly an hour and a half.
Good grief. 2 gathers again, that was brilliant, yeah.
So if we're not able to go through some of your questions right now, it's obviously getting to quite an involved part of the piece.
What are we saying?
But we will address them at the end.
That's okay.
Or reply in email.
So one of the things I quite liked about this piece is I didn't really know how long it would take for all these threads to build the spool in full. And we still don't. I'm getting a better idea now. But that was one of the things I sort of linked in my head to the pandemic. You know, how long is the whole thing going on for? It was a year, and now it's into the 2nd year, and it doesn't look like we're coming out of it. When will it ever end? So that's what I quite like. The unknown part of this piece is how long will it take? And I reckon it'll take about 35 minutes.
35?
Yeah.
So our next participant is Adam.
Okay, we're torching again, Beth. Yep.
And no pressure, Adam, after Jack absolutely nailed it.
So we're after the edge of that and the punty, yeah? Just in general, yeah.
A nice big gather of clear glass Bruce has got on there.
Yeah, you're having that now. All right.
And that's nearly ready.
Oh, that's a big one.
We'll be threading on the next layer.
To put this one on with him?
It's really fun being able to work
Bruce.
in a team like this with large numbers.
Okay, Bruce is going to put this one on with Adam.
Oh, are you going to turn it then?
I'll turn it if you want, yeah. Okay. Are you going to bloody turn it? When you're ready, yeah. Adam, ready?
You ready, Adam?
Yes, ready.
Okay.
Lots of rings on your fingers, always good for a glassmaker. Lovely.
Nice.
Wow, really taking shape.
Pass Bruce the shears. That's all right. He's gone. Okay, yep. Oh yeah. Wunderbar.
Woo! Great job, Adam.
Okay, yeah. Okay, torch. Open. No, let's go with the green. Oh, sorry. I'm just conscious of the time. We're still gonna get this. Yeah, we'll go green. Hey? Yeah.
You have 30 minutes and loads of time.
Well, we've got a few more.
You could get a little dung beetle on the end of that.
Can you get that? Green, please, yeah. Okay, so the next colour.
So what does the green represent?
So the green for me, and I'm sure again for like, I mean the thing about this is we've all been through very similar things recently. You know, as soon as your freedom is limited, you start noticing what things we all share. So the green for me is this sort of like reconnection with nature that a lot of people have had. People spending times in their gardens if they're lucky enough to have them. Some goats walking through some town or something. So the green is all about that, all about the connection with nature that a lot of people have found.
Should stress how complicated it is what Elliot's trying to achieve of maintaining this piece constantly without it either breaking or losing too much of its form. Especially when you've got a hot colour suddenly coming into the middle of the piece. Could you feel it moving about when that's happening?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, we're losing the form a little bit, especially at the back. But because that glass is so thin, I'm hoping we can inject a bit of heat and straighten it all out right at the last minute.
Nice.
Little flash, please, yeah.
But it's certainly not an easy undertaking.
Stand to the side rather than the front to strain.
So Isabella will be our next participant. Or Isabel.
As well.
It's one of the newest members to our gallery team.
We're nowhere near there yet.
Oh, right,
Go back to the bench, I'll torch you.
So if you're able to come see us on a Saturday, she'll be here to greet you.
I think you're just going to weigh yourself out doing that. I need you doing that. I think
she's been fully bitten by the glass bug.
I just don't want you to weigh yourself out.
The burden is heavier as it goes.
Oh yeah, it's way heavier now than it was when it started. Just need you when we're doing the...
So obviously each trail or thread that's being applied adds to the weight of the piece as well. So it'll be far heavier than when they began. Just build up, build up, build up. And obviously after an hour and a half of in the intense heat of making, the physical element really becomes a large part of the process. On YouTube, if you want to see some more of Elliot's work that we've got, you scroll down to the bottom of the page, there is a link to our latest catalogue of work, which, like I said, you can also come and see in the gallery on Thursday, Friday and Saturday.
Do you want to put this next one on with Isabel? Okay, alright, if you take a flash now then. You take a flash.
How heavy do you think that is now, Elliot?
I've no idea, really. That's
a Labrador?
No, like a Jack Russell, something like that. Alrighty. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Okay,
You get the
Isabel,
next
you
colour.
ready?
We ready? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so we're going red now. Thanks, Bruce. Okie dokie. Other way, Beth.
Here we go.
Ready? So just behind my hands, let it flop, turn. 1. Okay, now it's over to you. Try and fill in the gaps. Don't go too close to the edge. A little bit more this way. That's it.
Ooh.
Keep your eye on it.
Really gaining some proper physical mass in the centre there. Beth really having to work hard to turn that. Well done, Beth.
Okay, a little bit closer. A little bit closer. In, this way. That's it.
Oh,
Ready?
arms of steel, Beth.
Nice, excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isabel. Wonderful.
Okay, dude. Well done. All right, torching.
Very
It's going
nice.
quite well, isn't it?
It is.
At one point we thought we might try and do 2 at a time. I think that might be pushing it a little bit, no? Okay.
Possibly.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what's so fun about something like this, the element of the unknown, of trying something like this out for the first time. I've got to say, the effect of the string is great, really is.
Yeah.
Brilliant representation.
Okay.
So people are discussing about what might happen to this piece, where will it, what sort of purpose for it once it's finished. Obviously we wouldn't want to jinx that, but a key part of the process will be cooling the glass down in one of the kilns when it's finished. So it'll go into a kiln at about 500 degrees to cool down very slowly. We've got a very dense amount of mass of glass in the centre there, so the very thin parts. So you'd have to cool it down very slowly so that it's got an even temperature throughout, otherwise it could crack. The complexity of trying to cool down something like that will be quite a challenge. Always with that, cautiously is the best way. The thicker the glass, the slower you have to cool it down. I make sort of cube pieces, they're quite thick, so they might cool down in the kiln for about a month or so.
Just one gather on this one, Bruce. Okay. Yep. So the next colour we're going for is red.
Red is the next colour.
Red is the next colour.
And
So
the symbolism
again,
of...
we've got positive, then a negative. There's been a lot of anger, I think. A lot of people felt very angry about the whole situation. Anger at losing jobs, anger at being told what they can and can't do. So very simply, red is the colour of anger.
That
Yes,
is
and it is.
rage and romance.
Exactly. And yeah, just one gather on this one, Bruce.
So
Wanna turn it
Amelia,
again?
I think, is our next participant.
Yeah, you want to put it on, yeah. Okay, Beth's going to put this one on with, who's this, Amelia?
This is Amelia,
Hi.
another new member of our gallery team.
Okay. All right, there you go, Dave. Okay, just the end. What?
How hot do I need it?
That's probably perfect, really. So let it flop.
So some
tap
of
it on.
Elliot's figurative pieces, he will have this entire form of glass made maybe within the first hour,
Oh yeah,
maybe
wait,
quicker,
Bruce is going to flash.
maybe even
Yeah.
40
Yeah,
minutes.
flash. Sorry.
But then could spend
Yes,
the next
yes.
Yeah, please.
3 hours doing this constant reheating and tweaking of different parts. That's what's one of those draining parts of the process. You've got this extreme heat being kicked out by this reheating chamber, and the constant going back and forth is the most physical, draining aspect.
And we're away.
So we're now ready to apply the red with Amelia.
We're gonna let it flop. Grab it.
Nothing.
Set it there. Turn it around. That's it. And turn.
Oh.
No, you not you. You stay. That's it. I'm gonna let
Pull
go.
it back.
Okay.
Oh, there's a big lump of anger on that one.
Not yet. Sorry. No, that's good. And then go from one.
So
leg
not
to
too
the
close,
other.
not too close.
Brilliant.
Oh,
Perfect.
nice.
That's what you're supposed to do. Oh.
Okay.
Hey!
Nearly.
Elliot, do you think it's ironic how anger started off really strong and then fizzled out?
Fizzled out very quickly, yeah. Right, drop it in the bench. Have the torch, please. Thank you.
Was that the last thread?
No, we got one more. And the anger has spread. It's spread out, out of its confinement. It's infected the edge.
Of course, anger would behave differently than the rest.
Totally.
I'm right in the middle of things as well.
Okie dokie. Right, let's heat up this flange.
So you can see the form starting to distort a bit. Try and recreate and balance that out. Final 20 minutes, Elliot.
Yeah, we're bang on track.
So just trying to straighten up the ends of the spool. Get that form back a bit tighter.
We're doing that again, I think.
So we got another participant, Gina, who's our gallery manager.
Huh? Me? Yeah. You're going to put it on again? What? Okay, we'll turn together. Me and you. Me and you, mate.
You want me together?
So the final colour we're using is yellow. Yellow is the colour of happiness and hope, and that's how all things should end, I think, with hope. So we're going to do the last colour, cover all the rest with this
Cover it in
yellow.
happiness.
Cover it in happiness and hope. And then we're going to try the horrible task of sticking these needles through. Huh? Just the one's fine. I think we're nearing capacity now. So if you stick it on, Bruce, me and Beth will turn. Okay.
So yeah, the final act after the last thread will be if you saw Elliot make a needle component at the start. It's being kept warm in a kiln, and he's hoping to attach that at the very end. He's only got just over 15 minutes to do it.
Oh God. Talk to me, please. It's all got a bit wild, isn't it? Okay. Alright, me and you turn in one flash and then we're there.
So final flash before the last thread.
Yep.
Elliot and Beth will be turning this together. It's really quite a large mass of glass now. Some proper teamwork going on here. Cover it and hope.
Nice. Try and fill in this gap a bit.
Keep going, keep going.
All the way to the end. Every last bit of hope. Okay, okay. Hey.
Wow.
That was fun. Oh God, right.
Don't forget the needle.
Oh, what needle? There was no needle.
I think there might have been a needle.
I don't think there was a needle.
Oh, there's definitely a needle.
There's no needle. Okay. Open. Open. All right. Let's try and figure this out, shall we? Yeah, all right. Okay, so I'm going to chunk it in first. You're in the worst place. I'm going to turn this torch on. Yeah, can you turn to it? Yeah. Can you torch the threads? What? 10 minutes? 15! 15, surely. Surely.
15 minutes.
Yeah, oh, if you say so. Right, we're going to have to put both on at the same time, yeah. Any movement? Nothing?
Maybe on the torch again.
No. Turn faster. Right, Beth, can you turn it on to program 2, please?
So the kiln that's containing the needles is just going to get a bit hotter so that they can be picked up and applied as the final component of the piece.
Yeah, oh, yeah. All right, little flash, please. Yeah. Yeah, don't stand there. I know you want to, but you're going to lose your beautiful locks. Oh, that was sincere. Okay, so we're going to put them on. One coming out the bottom. Basically, if you can stick them in, then I'll lay them out where I want them. Oh.
Where do you want me to stick it?
Where
So
I need
Elliot's is using large shears to get a cut in. So this means the piece can be knocked away from the iron without it cracking. Hopefully. So essentially like a large pair of scissors. It's able to cut into the glass.
Okay, give that a flash, please. So what do we think? Let me just try and... This is the last bit now, so try and get it fairly right.
So much in the same way that the thread stuck to the main center of the spool, and the glass is hot, it will stick to each other.
So we can either go like that, which I'm not keen on, or we can go something like that. So I'm thinking if you stick it on where I heat, and then I'll bend it down and weld it, and then we'll flip it over, stick the other one, yeah, and then I'll bend it over and weld it to that side. So it's like, so we can actually fit it in, yeah, for a flash. Okay, all right, let's go for it. Yeah, flash please. So I want the loop, I want the loop on the back bit, okay? And literally it's like you take one out, stick it on, I position it, I'll flip it over, you take the next one out, we stick it on.
Do you think you'll be able to point?
Well, you'll see where the heat is. Yeah. Just, you know, don't do nothing yet. Turn. Okay.
So just neatening up the shape of the form. Then it'll heat one specific area with the hot torch.
I need some chalk.
There's chalk on the end.
Alright, yeah, great. Okay, so we'll pick a spot there.
Just marking the position on the iron.
Okay, another flash, please.
So he knows
Yeah, flash.
where he's actually heated.
What did I say? What we're doing? Oh yeah, that way. No. So yeah, the eye to the back, the spike to the front.
Now we have 10 minutes remaining.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah. The eye, this is the back, so the eye goes here, sticks down that way, and then the spike goes at the front. You're right. Okay, so flip it on these, yeah. Flip.
So using the hot torch, isolating certain parts of the thread, you can see how it's glowing much more than the rest of it. This part that's hot, you'll then be able to stick the needle to.
Flip.
You need the glass to be hot for it to stick, otherwise it will just fall off,
Flip.
potentially break.
Okay, eye first step. Flip.
Back to taking out the first part of the needle.
Okay. Stab it in. Yeah.
Lovely.
Oh, what? Oh no! Flash if you can. Why is that cracked?
Don't ever know.
Is that kiln needs to be more than 560?
I'll get 600.
You're right. I'm alright. Here, okay. Alright, we're going to torch the hell out of it. Pass me the torch. I didn't know that, see? Okay. You need to ramp it up.
So I've got all the doors on the glory hole open now.
That's so annoying. How annoying is that?
And it's a tight squeeze.
Yeah, it'll be alright. Okay, we'll get Yeah. The needle cracking, the vaccine will not save us. Alright, so we'll get the next one in a sec.
Can't really turn it there.
Huh?
Can't turn
No,
it.
no, it's alright. Don't worry about it. If you keep that on the top or the bottom though. Yeah. Flip. Alright, that'll hold together enough. Flip. Right, move. Flip.
So I've got
Flip.
a few little cracks in the needle just because the kiln wasn't quite hot enough.
Flip.
Part of the drama of working in a studio
Flip.
not in a year or two.
You ready, Beth?
But you can heat those fractures
Flip.
through again. and make it whole.
It's alright, it's gonna crack anyway. We've got a flip. Oh yeah, give it one more flash then. Really have to know the... We should have made a spare. I thought 560 would be, but that kiln's a bit lower.
Okay.
That's what it is. Yeah, no, it's alright. Means you really have to know your kit. Yeah, one more little heat. We'll just go for it. Okay. Well done, Bruce. Flip. Wait. Flip. Okay,
So I can see the iron itself
flip.
is distorting with the weight
flip.
of the whole piece. The bet's got the final element of the needle.
In the hot bit. There you go. Loose.
Beautiful.
Miles on. Okay, flip. Oh, not quite. Okay, flash it. Yeah, if you can. Alright, I'll get it if you want to get ready to put it away. Oh! We lost it.
I mean, you can seal that back up.
A bit late for that. Whole thing's gonna...
So as you can't really heat the glass properly anymore because it's not... The glory hole just isn't large enough to get a size this big inside of it. It's going to have to be very quickly put away into a kiln.
A torch on the needle.
Or else it will start to crack.
Ah, torch! This one. Well, I've got no water over there.
Are you flashing?
Oh, there is water. Yeah, alright. I'll have one more flash. Oh, man.
You need gloves, Beth. It's a hell of a thing, Elliot.
It's quite a thing, isn't it? Okay. No, that'll do it. Yeah, tweezers. No
So the
tweezers.
final act of trying to get the piece off the end of the iron safely away into the kiln. Bit of water on the part where it's attached to the iron. Vibration will just knock it off.
How are we going to let it up there?
Yeah, that's fine. Ready?
Bruce will put it away.
Oh. You can still clap. You can still clap.
A remarkable effort with 5 minutes to spare, mate.
Oh, thanks.
Beth, where are you?
Well done.
What,
Well, some creative finishing, maybe.
A little bit, yeah.
what an amazing example of collective endeavour
Yes.
in the face of
Showed that.
extreme adversity. My goodness, that was extraordinary. Well done, you two. Oh, you missed the kiss. Yeah. Do it again.
We're not doing it.
So, I'd like to thank you, Elliot. That was absolutely incredible. I had no idea it was going to be that
No,
scale.
I didn't think. I didn't think.
Well, it was fairly spur of the moment. So, thank you, Beth. Thank you, Tim, our wonderful narrator. You've done a brilliant job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce, for your assistance, all the audience participation. And I'd like to thank our brilliant cameraman, Anthony. Well done. You've done a great job. And thank you for bringing your wonderful dad. We all love him to pieces. He's done a fantastic job. Yeah. So thanks to all the team here at London Glassblowing. A quick reminder that we are open Thursday, Friday and Saturday from 11 to 5. Maybe this piece will be on display soon, we hope. We have work by Beth, we have other work by Elliot, and there's work by all the people you saw involved, even me. So do come, and of course it's all online too, so that makes it a lot easier. Just great. Thank you so much for joining us. We've enjoyed it immensely.
Bye.